Hello friends, it's Nancy from Astrology and Angel Mediums today with another little show me how you practice video. And since I was already talking about doing this candle and dressing this candle before, I figured I might as well just kind of film that process. Now, I am Hispanic and Mexican, first generation. So in my culture, using and burning a 7-day or novena candle is a really big part of our spirituality and how we bless things. Now, fixing, or what I'm about to do, which again is fixing a candle, is essentially also a part of curanderismo, root work, conjure. You'll see it in hoodooing or voodooing practices. So a lot of different people have a history with using candles. So the way that I'm going to do it is in relation to how I understand the particular herbs that I like to utilize for the working that I'm trying to do. So I live in Colorado, and there's not a lot of like botanicas or Mexican stores, so to speak, that sell a lot of the candles that I, like to use, which is these glass pillar candles. You can find them at Walmart sometimes. This one I got it at the $1.25 tree store. I just wanted yellow because, again, I'm going to be using color magic. I'm going to be using days of the week magic. I'm going to be using herb magic. I'm going to be using prayers, intention, and a lot of different elements kind of going into this candle. Now, whenever I purchase a candle, especially from a store like the $1.25 tree, is I try to bring it home and I always cleanse it. So I've already done that, usually with some warm water, and I put Florida water in my actual water. So this is what I use to cleanse my actual candles or other tools. You don't have to use Florida water. You can use something else if that works for you. That's just traditionally what was taught to me. And so that's kind of how I do things. So just fine. You don't have to cleanse it. Actually, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You can use smoke cleansing, whatever works for you. So it's already been cleansed. I did pour a little bit of wax from my previous candle because I did a red one for a different working, and I wanted it to be a continuation of that work. So that's why I poured it on top. You don't have to do that. But if you're wondering why there's red wax on top, because I was like, oh, maybe I should film me doing like the dressing of this candle. I'm not sure if anyone would be interested in that. So one of the things I like to do is focus on my intention. So like I said, I'm using color magic here. I used a red candle previously to help stop certain things, speed up certain things, focus, drive kind of energy. So, and I started it on a Mars day, which would be Tuesday. On Wednesday. I don't even, because I'm trying to think of in Spanish. Sorry, that was my bad. So martes is Tuesday. And so that's when you would start, whatever. Because again, I follow more of like the traditional Hispanic leanings. I know in some working, some people use Tuesday as a Mercury day. I don't. I use it as a Mars day. Since I'm doing the yellow candle as a continuation of that work, but then also to kind of focus on more of like road opening, breaking through blockages, calling in luck, things like that. I'm probably going to end up using this starting on a Thursday or a jueves, just to connect a little bit more to the planet Jupiter. So, as you can see, there's not really much going on here. I'm going to kind of use a couple of particular herbs that I have, since I actually cleaned out my apothecary today. I always like to start with some rue or ruda, which is great for protection, cleansing, clearing. It's a very protective herb. For the traditional witch, I like to use angelica root as well. So I'm going to use a little bit of that. I'm going to grind all this up with my little mortar and pestle. I can never say that. And angelica root, again, it's kind of like that divine connection. I'm going to use a little bit of chamomile or manzanilla because I love the properties of this. It's great for soothing the mind, things of that nature, since that is something that, you know, I feel like I need at the current moment. I'm going to use star anise, and sometimes I'll just do like the whole bit and just kind of put it into the candle. But I think I'm going to just try to grab a little piece that I can kind of grind up and put in there. I'm not able to grab one that's not a whole piece because I don't want a whole, it's really hard to kind of grind down. I'm going to use chicory root as well because I feel like it's a very cleansing and it calls in abundance, as well as speeds things up in a way just like cinnamon bark does, which I'm also going to be adding some cinnamon bark. I'll also add other things off camera. I'm like, not to say I'm like superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. I feel like you shouldn't always show exactly what you're doing with your spells or with your workings because you just never know how people are going to be utilizing that energy for you. So I'll just show you as I'm kind of grinding it up here. And then I'll add in my other stuff as needed once this is kind of ground down into a powder. So basically try not to make a big mess like I am because I'm trying to look at the camera. So we'll come back in a minute after I've ground this down and I've added some extra ingredients, and then we'll start talking about what I do for actually adding it to the candle. Okay, so I have this pretty ground up. You know, the lighting is terrible because we're moving into winter, so it just looks almost like a powder. And as I grind this up, I like to focus on waking up the herbs, kind of thanking them, focusing on what their intentions, you know, how they can help me with my intention, so to speak, and kind of what their intended use is, which is, you know, to kind of help me connect in different ways. So now that it kind of looks just like a powdery kind of mixture, what I would suggest is making some holes into your actual candle. I'm just going to use a pencil here. Sometimes it's easy and just kind of go in there. And this is just so that there's somewhere for the herbs to go. So when you do try to burn this, it doesn't get all crazy. I would also suggest you always cut down your wicks. I sometimes forget. I used to have scissors on my desk, but I don't any longer. So I'm going to have to go find some scissors so I can cut the wick before I actually end up burning this. And essentially, you're just kind of making some channels for this stuff to go. And then we're going to kind of try to remelt that wax on top. So everything is nice and even. I usually do 4 holes. That's just what I like, 1 for each of the elements. As most of the times I'm trying to do something that is very elemental in nature. This is also a good time to, if you are looking for, or like to use oils, this is a great time to do it. I'm just going to kind of try to put that in there. It won't always go perfectly where I want it to, and that's okay. And since I do have that other wax burnt on top, I may also just kind of add it about, and then I may add some wax from, you don't really need a ton. Again, it's more about intention when you're doing this. It is messy. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to make that big old mess. I am just going to dump it in because I think what I'm going to do is, since this wick is so long and I haven't cut it, is I'm going to add some wax from my other candle that I have burning here to kind of seal it up, as well as adding some other oils. And what I mean by oils is like using oils that you may have made. So I have like a money oil. I have an open road oil. I've purchased some from the Death Witch a few years ago that I still use. I'm trying to see if I can grab a couple here. So like this is a Muerte oil by the Death Witch, which again, use oils that correspond with whatever your working is. I have quite a few of her oils, so usually I would probably recommend using like a Van Van. An Evil Eye would be a good one too. This is really cute. She makes really beautiful oils. But I've purchased some along the last couple of years that kind of help me connect a little bit more. So here's like an uncrossing oil. I would probably add this because again, that's kind of the intention essentially, is uncrossing, adding luck, kind of opening the roads for myself. Van Van has been used for years as a means of speeding up whatever your process may be. So you can use oils if you want. You don't have to. You don't even have to use any herbs. You can just, if you're like, okay, I'm just going to grab a candle and pray over it, whatever, you can draw on it. You can write your intentions if you want with Sharpie on the outside. It's really up to you to figure out what feels right for you, essentially. And how I'm doing it is more in the tradition of using herbs, plant magic, using oils, using intention, using the sense of like connecting a little bit more and actually doing some work by, smashing everything up and choosing everything, kind of waking up the herbs and speaking to the herbs, and then actually lighting it with my intention. So I will kind of sit with this candle before I ever light it, kind of pray over it, kind of focus on like what it is that I need the candle to kind of do for me. So I guess in a way it's a lot of like manifestation magic as well. So I will show you once I have all of the oils I'm going to use on here and have it sealed off with some of this wax, since that's actually melting now. And I'll show you what it looks like whenever I'm done. All right, we've made a huge mess, but that's okay. I'll just clean this up once this is dry. As you can see, it's drying. I've just pulled the wick up a little bit more. I will say that doing this way, or even adding a lot of different herbs and oils and stuff like that on top, will make this more flammable. So your fire may be crazy. Never leave a candle unattended. Please, I like to put this in like a mason jar of water just in case, so it does not crack, because sometimes when they're just burning for several hours or several days, the glass will get very hot. Sometimes I'll just burn it during the time when I'm awake and I'm around the candle. So this may last me longer than a week. Again, I don't believe that you have to have it lit the entire time in order for it to work. There are people that feel like if you blow it out, you're blowing out the magic. I don't really come from that particular stance. Again, just do what feels right for you, what feels like that is how you want to kind of operate and what you want to do. I think it's more of just having the opportunity to connect to the thing that you're trying to do. And that's essentially what I like to do when I'm doing these kind of candles is, to me, it's more of just connecting to what is my intention? What am I doing with this? And if you're like, well, I don't have any of these other tools, your kitchen might have a lot of these tools. You might have some spices that are pretty much heavy duty, great to use in other ways, like cinnamon. Italian herb seasoning is great because there's a lot of different herbs in it that you can use for protection, road opening, and abundance and things of that nature. Garlic, onion, all of these different things that you may already have in your pantry would be good. Honey to sweeten things up. Again, I always tell people, I'm like, magic is the original DIY, so don't be afraid to kind of explore a little bit and find something that speaks to you, whether that's like going into all of the different herbs, finding different oils that you like, and kind of using that as a means of creating what you want. Now, what is the intention of candle magic? If that is something that maybe you haven't heard of, or you're kind of like, I don't understand. I think it's more of kind of calling in the different elements, and that's exactly why I like to use it. Is I feel like for me, it allows me to really focus my intentions on a particular burning. And so for me, it's just been something that's really been beneficial, that has helped me really focus. my intentions, how I want things to go, and then also as like a part of like my daily spiritual practice to kind of connect a little bit more by, you know, learning more about the herbs that I would like to use, or being a little bit more intentional about what I am focusing on that day or throughout, you know, whatever it may be throughout the burn. So I know for some people, they may have more familiarity with seeing these kind of candles, these little spell candles or chime candles, and you can do the same thing. For me, again, doing this was just more of because it's like a longer term thing that I'm trying to focus on versus just doing like one candle. But I would do very similar cleanse once it's dry. I like to kind of carve these up with like my intentions or name or things of that nature. And then from there, I'll mash up, you know, I'll grind up my herbs and my mortar and pestle. And then from there, I'll put some oil, put the herbs on, use some wax from another candle or whatever to kind of like have everything stick to my candle, and then I'll burn it. So you can still do the same thing. It doesn't need to be these big candles if that is something that you find a little bit overwhelming. It's all good. Find something that works for you. And even if you're like, well, I don't want to do all the herbs and stuff, just write your intentions on the candle, write a, you know, draw a rune on it with like a pencil, and then burn it. That's also a great way to incorporate your intentions and what you're looking for in a maybe more approachable way. So again, always keep some fire safe dishes to burn your stuff on. Make sure that you're watching your candles while they're burning. Don't walk away. And let me know what you guys think about this video. Is this something that you've done? Is this something that you're interested in doing? Is this a part of your practice? I'm curious to see if this is something that other people do as well. So please take care, stay safe, and as always, make good choices. Bye.